Hey everybody, welcome to your Foursquare assignment. This is an oldie but a goodie, meaning that this assignment has been around in art schools, in the art realm, in art education for a really long time. When I took 2D design as a freshman in art school, I completed an assignment similar to this using construction paper and glue. But we are doing this assignment digitally to get us acquainted with drawing in Illustrator and also to get you to understand two main types of compositional structures. If we're remembering what a composition is, it's where kind of all of the magic happens, where we produce our drawing, our painting, whatever. And there are generally two types of compositions: open versus closed. In this assignment, you will produce work that fits into either one of those categories, an open composition or a closed. So a closed composition is where everything in your image fits inside of the edges. If you imagine that your image has an electric fence around it, it means that everything doesn't want to get shocked. It's within the boundaries of that image. So if we take a look at this example, all of these cubes are, some are closer to the edges than others, but they are not going over the boundary of the edge. Okay, so think closed composition, the gate is closed, everything is within the image. An open composition is the opposite, where images appear to have a little more freedom and they might seem to be running off of the edges of the composition or the image, or what we might call the picture plane. This is generally more dynamic in that you get the sense that there's this entire world beyond the edges of the image that you're looking at that these forms can exist in. So if we're looking at this example, and especially with the green and the red cubes, we assume that they don't just cut off at the edges, but they exceed those boundaries and exist as, cubes. So it gets us to, as viewers, to look a little longer at them and to understand that there's this whole other world outside of these edges, and what is that world like? Open compositions are generally, like I mentioned, way more dynamic, especially in terms of graphic design. So I'm going to show you some examples of this project. In a separate video, I will kind of go through how to set up your document in Illustrator. But I'm going to give you a list of words, and you're going to have to illustrate those words only using 4 black squares within each drawing. And your drawing will either be categorized as an open composition or closed composition, okay? And some of these words you might have to look up in the dictionary because you might not understand what exactly they mean. And I'm looking for an illustration of that word using very simple black squares. So we're really getting to the root of visual communication. So to put all of your work together, which again will be discussed in the instruction sheet and another video, you're going to create a keynote presentation using a gray background. This example here you can see has a black background, and it just doesn't work as well, so make sure it's gray. And you want to label each of your drawings in the keynote presentation, and you want to make sure that word doesn't interfere with the drawing itself. So these are some good examples of this problem, of this assignment. And they're good because they followed the either open or closed constraint. So this one would be an open composition because those squares are running beyond the edges. And again, you're working just with squares, not rectangles. So if you think you see a rectangle, it's really just a big square, because you can size your squares as big or as small as you need them to be. This is a closed composition. So what these students are showing is that they understood what the word means and they're trying to illustrate that using very simplistic imagery, the constraint of these 4 black squares. Anger, so, here I read that as someone yelling. Discipline, we think of something as being very orderly. Omnipotent. This is a closed composition. This is an open composition, the counterpoint to that. So with these drawings, especially in this one, we see a range in sort of the scale of the squares. They all aren't the same size, which works well for the meaning of the word. So that's something else that you should consider, is how large or small the squares are. It helps to illustrate and communicate the definition more effectively. And some not so good examples. Please don't use a crazy background in a PowerPoint or Keynote. It distracts from the drawing. Your text should not cover any part of your drawings, and don't just take screenshots of your drawings and paste them into your presentation. They'll appear pixelated. The resolution won't be very good. Okay, so this one had potential. It was just that word distracting from it. And these last few are really unambitious in terms of just the kind of very small scale of the squares, not taking advantage of the white space. You really want to see how much of the composition, how much of that white artboard that you can utilize. Really take advantage of the real estate that you have. Otherwise, these are pretty boring. They leave a lot to be desired in terms of the definition of the word. I think this one was a discipline one. And some of these too, like, because I do run this assignment so often, I tend to see the same drawing kind of over and over again that was influenced by the good examples that I show in this presentation. Show me something new. There has really only been one student that I can think of who absolutely blew me away in terms of risk-taking and experimentation. So make yourself be that other student who blows me away and has shown that you looked up the words and you understand the meanings, or you show a new meaning, and produce your work that shows an investment of time. So again, I'll show you a different video in terms of how to get started, but I have these some instructions at the end of this this document that I have uploaded to Blackboard as well, in case you like a standard PDF. Okay? So follow the directions, take risks, and turn in your work on time. Thanks, everybody.